Hey, my name is Lydia. I'm a social injustice activist, and I am rocking with Grandosiá TV.
Welcome back to another great show with Grandosiá TV, where we here with my friend, Miss Lydia McCaskill, an activist of the streets of North Carolina, who is here today to explain to me and to everybody else what her platform is, what she's been doing, how she embody her MLK, Malcolm X activist that she has, and where the passion come from. So with that being said, before we get into the interview, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you share this video. Make sure you hit the notification bell so when we go live, you get all the up-to-date videos on Grandosiá TV. Well, with that out the way, Lydia, how you been doing?
I have been doing awesome, just out here in the streets trying to make a difference any way that we are able to.
For those that watch you on social media, for those that are not really sure who you are, give the people a brief introduction of who you are and why you do what you do.
Okay, so I'm Lydia. Hello. I was raised here in Grandosiá, North Carolina. I went to North Carolina State University and got a degree in criminology. With obtaining my degree, I got educated on so many disparities and marginalizations in the system. And that kind of pushed me towards really my goal in life, which is to be a lawyer and who I wanted to fight for and why I wanted to fight for those people.
So when we see you on the social media with like Facebook, Instagram, and all those platforms doing what you're doing, it's more behind that. So many people don't know you went to NC State. Many people don't know you studied that.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you feel like are misrepresented when it comes to your name?
Okay, so first of all, people have to understand I went to a white university to learn about my Black culture, something that I failed to learn in the European-based school system. And in learning about that, I kind of felt bad. Like, wow, I didn't know this. You know, I grew up in a two-parent household and, you know, we had what we needed above what we needed. So I did not understand that aspect of our culture. And so from learning about my culture, like, it was like someone has to do something. Like, why isn't anyone doing anything? And a common question in all of those classes was, what can we do? And so when everything started happening with police brutality, I wasn't in the streets at first. I was not a protester. But when George Floyd passed away, I remember I was just like, you know, this is ridiculous. I didn't even watch the whole video. I couldn't watch it. But I knew that this was the opportunity to get out in the streets and make a difference and also inform other people. If I had to go to a white university to learn about my culture, like, these people back home don't know this. You know, a lot of people even, you know, didn't go to college or they just don't know. So my job is to inform people and educate people because I know that Black people are not liberated in America KKK. At all. We are not. And I know that. And it's like other Black people don't know that, but because the system of oppression was made how it was by the European white man to continue to oppress us with capitalism, it's like it's so hard to get it into people, but I won't shut up. I'll continue to talk and tell everybody and educate everybody because this is a real serious issue and it's near and dear to my heart. And, you know, when I am a constitutional lawyer and I am able to go into the courtrooms and I am able to fight for people whose constitutional rights have been broken, have been taken away, then I'll fully feel satisfied. It doesn't matter how much I can go out in the streets, how many homeless people we feed, doesn't matter how many children we reach. I know how we're oppressed in the system and it's disgusting.
Now, I heard you say at first you was not protesting. It was not until the George Floyd situation happened where the cop bent down on his neck and eventually ended up taking his life. But what was that moment like for you to say, I gotta do it no matter what people say? I gotta jump into these streets. I gotta organize. I gotta put it together. And then once you've done that, was there anybody supporting you? Who was your supporting cast that you depended on to teach you or show you in the right direction how to do this?
Okay, so to be clear, prior to George Floyd being lynched in the streets by a police officer, there was the case of Ahmaud Arbery. And Ahmaud Arbery's case showed a couple things. It showed how racism still thrives, and it also shows how the system does not do its job unless there is public outrage and people actually have a voice. So from that, when George Floyd died, we organized in the streets in Raleigh and we protested, and I was just like, all right, I start school in August, I can protest for however long, and then I'm going to make a difference, right? Well, one day I came to Gastonia to get some ice cream and I was arrested on the sidewalk. And I realized how systemically oppressive and racist the system is in Gastonia. And it was to my disbelief. Like, what happened to me with that police officer was absolutely ridiculous. I don't even want the police cam or the cam in the car to be shown. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I knew that if you're doing this to me on a citation, it's no telling what you're doing to other people, especially other people that don't know their rights. So that kind of like jump-started this position that I never wanted to be in, right? Where it's like, all right, we have to say something about this. So from a situation where I was treated unfairly, I was then unlawfully arrested, right? So are we just gonna allow this in Gastonia? For me, it was a no. Like, I grew up here. Gotcha. This is all I know. Like, why would I? That's not okay. And I had heard other stories of the system, but it's one of those things. Well, what we think is, well, you shouldn't have got in trouble, or well, you shouldn't have been there. Right. You know what I'm saying? But
is that more for people being scared?
Yes. That's exactly what it is, especially scared of, you got people in Gastonia that the police have done them dirty. They're scared to go file a grievance at the police station. They don't even want to sue them because they're afraid of the backlash that they're going to get, But from that situation at Tony's, this little thing sparked, and I realized really when there were snipers on the building at the courthouse, when the Panthers that came, the new Black Panther Party and the gun club that came into town, were arrested for doing the same thing that the white people were doing in the parking lot at Tony's, it blew my mind. And I felt so bad. It was so heavy on me. Like, I don't even want to get emotional, but I felt bad. Like, I perpetuated this. Like, those people wouldn't be sitting in jail if it weren't for me. And then from that, I made up in my mind, I'm going to do whatever I can to bring down the system, to expose the system, to show people how horrible it is. And, from the beginning, it was just me in the streets. I had my cousin Marvin, I had my brother, I had my sister, I had a gang of people around me that supported me. But as time went by, it was, people are going to drop out. Now, people don't want to go to the meetings and speak. People don't want to do anything. And so my circle got a little bit smaller, but there was still a core of us that were attacking racism where it was.
Small can be better, though.
Absolutely. There would be people that hit us up and they would say, hey, whenever y'all go out next time, call us. Well, we're going to Bessemer City to talk to racist people, Like, this is a situation where the 12 of us, it's going to work. So, and I don't want to bring people into a situation people get arrested.
Right.
No. A lot of times I am very aware of that also, and it scares me. Like, I want to get people in the streets out here. But if the police arrested people, violated their First Amendment and their Second Amendment right, why would I bring people here or try to organize more people in the streets for that same thing to happen?
Right.
I'm very selfless. Okay. And so for me, it became, where's the core group of people that's not afraid?
Quick question. What you saying that, what you being aware of surroundings, we saw that same picture in a movie like Selma with MLK, where he kneeled down and prayed. Do you have anything guiding you to let you know, okay, let me be aware of this. Let me heighten my senses of that something may go wrong. Do you pray before you go out there? Do you talk to a higher power before you go out there? How does that work for you?
So a lot of times what I don't bring in when people see me on live and people see me on social media, unless you're on my page, is the fact that God alone leads me. Mm-hmm. Even when the situation happened at Tony's, I remember sitting in a room and crying to my mom, like, Mom, I just want to go back to Raleigh, but I cannot move. It was like God had planted me here not to move. And I listened to God. And from listening to God, God has led me. You know, I received death threats. I received death threats.
In 2021 still.
In 2021 still, I received death threats. Oh, you just need to shut up. You're a race baiter. Someone needs to do something to you. Openly on Facebook, someone needs to put a bullet in her head. Someone needs to go run her over. And my mom at one point, let's be transparent, okay? My mom and I didn't talk for a while, for about 3 months. And that was because of the amount of threats that I was receiving. That was because my mom is older. She went to school when there was a white and a black water fountain. Okay, she went to school to an all-black school and then went to a desegregated school. So her thinking is a little different, but she saw crosses burn and things like that. So my mom told me, "You're being too loud. You're making too much noise." And someone had came and vandalized something at my home, and after that, my mom was just over it. So my mom and I did not speak because of this. And I remember praying like, but God, you told me to do this. like, you know, my father passed away a while ago, and it's like, that's my support system. You know, that's my home. That's my home in Gastonia. Without her, what am I going to do? And I remember I just prayed. I would come out here maybe once or twice a week, and I would drive here and then go back, you know, just for my community here, because guess what? You know where I live? It's Gastonia. My home is here. I go to school there. So this is still my home. So I would still come do it. And I'm still being led by God. That's what people don't understand. Right. You know, I'm led by God. You can say whatever you want to say about me, have whatever tone I take. Maybe you don't like it. I could care less. I'm led by God and God alone, even by the progress that we have made. You can tell, because Gastonia has a problem with racism, just period. People don't want to admit it. And then when you say it to the white people here on these boards, right, they get so offended, right? Because for some reason, when you call out white supremacy, white people get offended. Well, all white people benefit from white supremacy. You're offended. Why? Because I'm calling you a white supremacist, or the fact that you live in white supremacy ideology, that doesn't even mean you're racist. But see, because we have been ingrained a certain way, because they brainwash us, like people don't get it. And so I have these people, and I'm just sitting back laughing like, yo, I'm led by God. Like, bro, I don't really care what you have to say or what you do, or when you come by and you spit your racially divisive rhetoric to me. That, does it hurt my feelings sometimes? Absolutely, because it's like, why do we have to do this? But that doesn't, I'm moved by God.
You know, Moses of your time.
I'm literally fearless. I fear God and God alone. And it's just like, even with the police officers, now that I am the general of the original Black Panthers of Gastonia, because again, I went through this process where there were these groups coming at me, right? And they're like, you know, you should be down with us. And one thing about me, I don't just go with someone, you know, I like to see how you're moving. And I'm very independent. So, you know, seeing all these groups and even seeing some of the Black groups perpetuate the lie that I was a paid protester sitting here.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. And then you was paid to come into the city and cause trouble.
Yes. I'm talking about Black organizations, right? To see that while at the same time you're asking me to be in your organization, or to see people that I respect in the community, right? Activists in the community, perpetuating that lie to other people. I'm just like, all right, cool. Well, we got a few people. You know, I don't even care what y'all have to say. We're not going to shut up. But I ended up linking up with the original Black Panthers. King Rick Darrell is the leader of that movement. And his movement stands for it is the original Black Panthers. Let's just be clear, right? So we think that those people are terrorists because the European-based school system has taught us in our head for some reason that Black people that practice their Second Amendment right are terrorists, right? When you look at our 10 points and when you look at our ideologies, you understand that's not at all what we're about. We're not prejudiced. We don't stand for no racism, no bigotry, no oppression of any kind, right? It's not just about Black people in our movement, right? You're not going to see us out on a corner yelling racial slurs. That's not going to be us. We stand against oppression of any kind. And so I saw how he moved. And what he does is he's this really huge guy. He goes and he shuts businesses down, right? Not only racist establishments, but establishments in our hoods. He'll go to the corner store because the corner store called somebody a bitch, right? And he'll shut them down. There'll be Black people in the community that are mad at him, but he'll shut them down because we cannot preach against bigotry and stupidity against us from white people and not preach it to our own people, right?
That makes sense.
So I saw that and I saw how he moved and I reached out to him and we connected and he watched me for a while and he said, I want you to start a chapter. You know, it's up there if that's what you would like to do. And I was taken aback because I'm looking at this man like, it was very humbling for me, right? And I was like, let's do it, what I got to do, you know? And so a while back, it's been a while. People, literally, I just shared a picture the other day. People didn't know because guess what? If I know that the European-based school system has taught us that we are bad, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to change your view. So we're going to be out in these streets for 3 months. We're going to feed the homeless. We're going to help the kids. We are going to speak against injustice. A white girl got shot by the police. Guess who were there? We were there. You know what I'm saying? Yes, we were there. So for those few months we were moving, people didn't even know who we were. But that's because now I have changed their perspectives of what the original Black Panthers are. And now you see us to the core because they don't teach us in the schools that the original Black Panthers, the reason why there is a free breakfast and lunch program is because of the original Black Panthers. Because they started it in our own communities with their own money, no government money, with the help of the people, right? And then what happened is the government was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. So they implemented it into the school system. People don't know that.
Well, the government always stealing ideas from us.
This is true. But this is why it's important for us to stand up, use our voice, and do what we have to do to let people know, to inform our own people, to inform white people, Asian people, Spanish people. You know, there is a problem in America, KKK, and the problem is white supremacy. The problem is the systems are so deeply rooted in white supremacy that even some people at the top fail to acknowledge systemic racism in the ways that it affects us. And we have to inform these people. It's going to take grassroots activists. It's not going to be a president, clearly.
But can you root it out, though?
Okay, so there's this policy module that says that depending on what size group of people you're trying to reach, it gives you an estimate on how long it should take to implement a policy, right? So though this is an ideology, the original Black Panthers, going to racist establishments, calling them out, we're rooting out white supremacy. We're exposing them. There are going to be people that stop spending their money, not just Black people, but white people. You ride by Tony's and I see more Black people out there than white people. Okay, so we're going to take that white supremacist, that racist ideology, and we're going to expose it, right? So what's going to happen is, of course, it's going to take a while. White supremacy runs the world, but in America, it systematically oppresses us due to capitalism, right? So if we understand that we have to break down the system of oppression, we have to start in our hometowns, right? Because no major federal government is going to do it, right? So the only way the model says that when you are looking to implement something national, right? We're talking about 60, 70 years down the road.
Right.
Okay. So we understand this is not about a race. Let's see how fast we can go. This is going to be the rest of my life. I've already committed to fighting this. I've already committed to standing against this because The white supremacy ideology is rooted so deeply that there's going to take a whole new cycle of generations to come in and truly bring it out. Now, this new generation, them people crazy. But I love it, right? Because that's how I am. I'm such a free spirit. Like, I love everybody. I don't care what you are, what you believe in. I believe in God. I'm not going to push my views on you if that's not what it is. But I don't love you any different, right? Because, again, guess what? I believe in God, and that's what the Bible calls us to do. For these fake Christians that got something to say against people who are a different sexuality or believe in a different religion than them, that's not how I am. Listen, I don't care if the police mess with you, and I don't care what religion you are, what sex you are, how you, you tell people what you are. I'm going to be there just the same for you as I am for black people, right? But for black people, for me, it's really the fact that we built this country.
Facts.
Our ancestors built this country. And to see the ways in which what was initially started as slave patrol continue to slave patrol our streets and do things to our children and not protect us, but they are certainly there to find the drugs and to find the people that are fighting or yelling or whatever. It literally baffles me. And I'm not having children because of it.
Gotcha.
I refuse to bring children into a system that I know is built to make money off their backs. 1 in 3 African American males are felons. People think that slavery was abolished. Read the 13th Amendment.
Right.
Slavery is not abolished. Anybody who has ever been in a criminal justice institution was a slave. Let's just be clear, because that's what the 13th Amendment says. You were a slave to the state and to the government. You were a slave just like our ancestors that sat and picked cotton. You were a slave because you sat in that prison and you built their furniture for 3 cents a day. You were a slave, and that is so disheartening, especially to know and to have studied that the government perpetuated it all. We had our own communities. We were sustainable, right?
Like Wall Street.
Come on. They burnt our stuff. Then they segregated us and redlined us into horrible parts of our cities that have bad air and bad water, which has an effect on our psyches, right? On our children. And then, somehow we got drugs in the community, right? Now, black folk ain't never had nothing first.
Right.
We ain't never had nothing first. So, but all of a sudden, in the 70s, the late 60s and the 70s, we got drugs in our community. I call BS, right? Because we also know that we had the Nixon administration, right? Which was horribly racist, okay? And of course, we say he put drugs into our neighborhoods. And then what he did was he created a policing system to over-police us. And from that, we have this thing called mass incarceration. And that's, you look at that map, right? You got the 50s, the 60s. This is the amount that black people are incarcerated in the 50s, right? So you get into the 60s and you get into the 70s, the 80s. This is the incline for us being incarcerated. And then these people want to say it's not systematically racist. It is. Things like the Biden crime bill. Biden, our great president that's going to save it all, perpetuated it.
Back in the Clinton administration.
Yes. And we have to educate ourselves so we know. Biden has done what for African Americans since he's been in office? I'm not sure. But one thing he could do is take away that crime bill that he created with the 3 strikes out laws and the railroad laws and all those things that keep putting us back into prisons. Right. That's what he could do, but he didn't do that either. The government is systematically oppressive. The government is rooted in white supremacy capitalism. In order for us to truly become liberated, we have to voice our right to vote. Okay, so I know you have some Panther parties and other people, black groups, that are saying don't vote, do it all of this. I'm an original Black Panther, and we believe in voicing our vote, right? And in that, we believe in putting people in power, putting our stakeholders from our community in power to advocate for us. That's the problem. We don't have any stakeholders at the table. How are you gonna make a policy or anything for a people that you know nothing about, and you bring nobody from their community to the table?
Right. They do it.
Cannot do it, clearly. I mean, unless you want to give us food stamps and housing, and because they think that is just so great for us, you know, and take the black men out of the house. And then if they're felons, I don't care if he wants to be there for his children, because you get housing, because you receive state benefits, he's not allowed to be here. You want to completely annihilate the black familial autonomy, because of course you get the black man, it falls from there. It crumbles from there. And they've done such a good job at this. It's so great, but God is so perfect in what he does, right? Mm-hmm. George Floyd did not die for the reason that he died at the time that he died, for no reason. That happened because the world was stopped and the world had to see the issue. And it is important for us as grassroots activists to continue to be out in these streets, right? Mm-hmm. Because it starts in your community, starts in your district, it starts in your city, in your town, in your state, and then you can take it federal. But we have to start where we are if we really want to de-white supremacify, which is my research that I have created, de-white supremacification of American KKK. If we really want to do that, we have to remove all the white supremacy sentiments. If you have a person in power that publicly goes on Facebook Live and says that systematic racism is not real and that racism is not a thing, he does not need a position on any political body, period. He's a white supremacist. Not only is he a white supremacist, he's deeply rooted in white supremacy. There is no way that he can accurately do anything for people of color. Right. De-white supremacify. Take it out. Remove these white supremacist statues from in front of courthouses that are deemed to be fair and impartial. Well, the man sitting up high, the white man that fought for the continued enslavement and oppression of my people, does not make me feel good when I walk into a courthouse that's deemed fair and impartial. Remove it. Remove these school names. Remove these mascots that represent white supremacy. Remove it. Denazification. The American government came up with that. Mm-hmm. The American government came up with going into Germany and other European countries and taking the Nazi sentiment out. The American government did that, but we have white supremacy roaming rapid in our own. What? Now, does that make sense?
We do more for others than we do for black people here in America.
But that's going to change. That is changing. And that's why it's important for us. That is changing. And if the American government can denazification and denazify these places, guess what? It should not be hard for something as simple as de-white supremacification and de-white supremacify these institutions that are systematically oppressive, de-white supremacify everything. NASCAR took away the Confederate flag. That's all of their money. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's all of their money. If they can do that, like, come on, we can do that. Shouldn't be that big of a deal.
With that being said, and it is a great show so far. This is going to be part one because I got to get Lydia back. But make sure y'all subscribe. Make sure y'all like it. Make sure you hit the notification bell. So when she comes back on, because it will be real soon, that y'all can get part two of what she has to say. And we talk to y'all later.